Hello everybody, this is Grumpy Dave. Kind of overdid it yesterday. Having muscle spasms in that surgery shoulder. And Mama says no work on the car till they settle down. So, I'm having to behave. What's that mean? I was told to do normal stuff. I was told to act my age. I am. So we'll just go over. I got a call in to my welder guy. He's bringing the plates over for the motor mounts. There she is. After 30 days of painstaking discussions and banging my head against the wall, it's done. Can't wait to bring the fender well headers down through here on both sides. Got as low as she'll go. She's dropped down just a tad in the back because she's sitting on a jack stand. I got to pump the hydraulic jack up to make her level, which it doesn't need to be level right now. I'm going to get my compound miter saw out and measure the spacing on here when I got the engine in the proper position. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of 2x4 to lay right down on there and right down on here. You can also see it shifted to the passenger side to get her centered back up and back up where she belongs. Then I'll put that shim in there just to keep it from watoosing around a little bit. When we start doing the weld in, we'll do the block side with the bushings that I've made to fit in, and then we'll realign that to the body down here, which comes in below the steering, which is actually lower than it will be when it's installed. I'm just using it for make sure I'm not I'm not conflicting anything here. This actually comes up and over a little bit. I don't know if you can see it on camera. Right about there is on center, and it's about a 1/4 inch or so to this side. Okay. Now, there's a couple discussions about weakening the unibody. Yeah, you can weaken one. This is a common cutout. They're doing them on all of them. I want to strengthen this rail because I've already totally replaced and rebuilt that whole rail system. I want to beef this side up. And I gotta get the starter and shove it in the hole here to see if I got the frame to engine. It should be right here. In fact, it's laying on the bench. Why not measure it? Duh. I got stuff laying everywhere. I got the wiring project for the LS that I'm still going through in the back of my head when I got nothing else to do, which isn't very often. Steel supports, heat shield for the tranny. There's my starter. Project after project. This had to come out of the way because the motor mounts have to go in before. I'll just put this up here. Seven inches. So I will trying to do this and hold the camera is rough. So I'm going to have to pull a bolt, put the bolt on the other side, which I didn't do yet. Slap that starter up in here when this is aligned to make sure it fits between the body rail. Punch it straight up. There we go. Phew. Yeah, the good Lord's liking me today. 1/4 inch between the front corner of the starter and the body frame rail. I can smidge the engine over that way just a tad. I'm trying to figure out how far it has to go over. Oh yeah. It's got to come over a good 1/2 inch to be on center here. Try this again. Not bad. So you can see it's got to be kicked over a considerable amount. See if I can get it right on the money here. Come on, come on. Yep. So, I also noticed it's down a little bit when it's shifted. The jack bled off because this little piece here is up higher. Right across there. There's a lip comes down like this on the pan, and this will be up higher, and it fits, literally fits right in that pocket. Raise it up. So I'll get it set, and before the final weld goes, I will lift the starter up into the place and shove it in the bell housing hole, because it has to, the bolts in that go directly up. It doesn't go back like you're thinking into here. My bolts go up. So it'll be tight, tight, tight. But that's the last measuring that I have to do on this project on that side. So when the engine's jacked up, it's down about 1/2 inch right now in the back. It's kind of doing a bend thing. So I jack it up and get it off the jack stand, put it up where it belongs. This will space this here that is touching here will be kicked over to split the difference. The starter will go right in. Problem solved. Today my welder guy's coming by. He's made my plates for the motor mounts, and I am using an extended mounting plate, 1/4 inch plate, high tempered steel. So he's got it over his monster drill press to put the bolt holes in it. We'll get everything up and get it set where it belongs, and I'll get the shims cut, and I'll take the shims out, take the mock-up out, throw it up on the bench, bolt the steel pads on it, and reinstall it so it's right and tight and bolted up good. Put the shims in, get underneath it, and make one final check with the starter. I don't want an issue. So I'll make sure everything's in alignment, and then we'll go to town with the weld. Once the motor mount is in, I will start fabricating the steel work on that side. I can do it with the transmission in and the mock-up out. I've got to come up with a cutting system to cut the headers so we can cut them apart and put them back together to form the headers I need. And after that's done, I'll pull the transmission after I do the basic measurements off of this to put back in that transmission tunnel I cut out, make it stronger. I'm using thicker metal than what they've got in there to add some strength in it. The top of the curve will be round tube. It's laying in there. I was going to cut it till the wife said I'm not allowed to play with anything till my shoulder quits hurting. So basically we're good to go. We finally did it. This is worst case scenario cut. I would have to cut this, which was the easy cut. That cut affected the driver's pedal box and the steering shaft and everything. I was trying not to get into it, and I accomplished that. I can't wait till I'm done with the sheet metaling and a little bit of welding that's going on here with the headers and stuff, because I am dying to get all this stuff out of here and start getting this cleaned out and ready to paint. I've got the rack right here all set in. It's deadlined. The shifter arm and the stop neutral switch has got over 3/4 of an inch between it and the body now. It's going to rain any given time. That's why I didn't peel the cover totally off of Brit. I can just yank her over with a couple of bungee straps and call it a day. This will be a simple weld for the motor mounts. I'll do one fitment. I'll do one cleaning just before the weld. The metal's 100% clean. And then when the motor mounts in and everything's bolted up and it looks pretty, the rack will come out and go in there and get cleaned up. Everything seems to be coming together nicely. I gotta check. I think you pop this cap to fill it up with oil and work it back and forth till it's full. So when it's all keyed back to the front end and the tie rod ends are down in their ends and the front end's lined up where it should be, I'll do that. It's gonna be so much easier to do it before the engine's in there, trust me. It's gonna be a bear after the engine. So other than motor mounts, and then we got the header build, I can start the sheet metal. And it won't take long for the sheet metal to get welded in. It takes me longer to cut it on for him to weld it. So I will probably do the weather, start cutting sheet metal tomorrow. And get measurements in and getting it all lined up where it should be. So I'm saying, I can pull this and we can weld all this. And then the headers will get made while I'm making the panels for this, because we have to do the panels underneath the car. I don't think we can weld the supports in with the transmission there. I doubt it. But once the transmission mounts are in, I can put a measurement block line on the block, on the firewall, and we can unbolt this, and then we can bolt it back in by itself and just put a leg on the back of it on the ground, stick a couple sheet metal screws in it, and just let it sit there, and we can work around it without having that transmission in my way, because I got a lot of cleaning to do down on his side and prep work. And then once it's all back in, It'll be the final weld on the car, on the installation part. Then I get to start on the body, the interior. I got to go look for a rear end next weekend. I might do it this week on a rainy day. Junkyard I go to's got concrete pads down. You can walk around, see what we can do with the rear end. I've been looking at the numbers. I've got ones in my mind, but I want to actually go get up underneath the vehicle and run a tape measure on it to make sure my measurements and their measurements equal the measurements I need. Which will put a posi 323, I think it is, in here. And it'll be wider track, so I will be putting flares on it. I think it'd be kind of cool to do. It's kind of developing as we go. So that's what we're doing today. I know it's boring as heck, but it's fitted in. Like I'm saying, the key now is to hold the starter up in there after it's shimmed around and make sure it comes straight up in the bottom, because the starter has to be out to put the bolt in the motor mount. So I'll just hold it up in there, push it against the bell housing for the nose cone of the starter to make sure it's not going to bump or rub anything and there's room to work, and then we're good to go. We'll weld it up, and then I'll take everything out and he will re-weld the brackets to the car body uniform in there, the unibody part, and then we will take the motor mounts off this block and lay them on the bench where it's easy for him to work on it. Or just set it up on the end on the metal stand. He can sit down and weld it. It's whatever he wants to do. Speaking of which, he just pulled up. He must have had his big boring machine set up before he called me. So I'm going to get on here. He's not on the camera type yet, so whatever happens, happens. People, like, subscribe, and leave a comment about the installation, something you see that I need to address. Let's hear it. Have a blessed day. And get your build on, people. I got to talk tech now, which will be boring as all heck.